clay tablets on which a myth was recorded. From the very beginning, it was treated as the oldest literary work in history. Smith had discovered the Epic of Gilgamesh. 5 poems written around 2100 BC, which told the story of a king who, in search of immortality, traveled to the ends of the earth. He met a wise man named Utnapishtim and his wife, the only survivors of a cataclysm, to whom the gods had granted the very gift Gilgamesh longed for: eternal life. Fascinated by the myth, he saw how the tablets were telling a story about a world drowned by a flood, and a man who, by building a ship, saved the fate of humanity. It seemed that the Sumerians were speaking of the Great Flood and Noah's Ark 2,000 years before it appeared in the Bible. He had something unique in his hands. After completing the translation on December 3rd, 1872, Smith read the writings before the members of the Society of Biblical Archaeology, leaving all the attendees deeply astonished, especially by the Epic of Gilgamesh. Unfortunately, the story was incomplete. Fragments were missing from a work then, as some said, could shake the very foundations of the Christian religion. Smith was entrusted with the mission of finding the missing fragments of that epic. They had to place the final jewel on the crown of the king's tail. With new excavations in the lands of Uruk, they uncovered lost tablets of the epic that had gone unnoticed in the first expedition. But they found much more than just the continuation of the myth. In some fragments, Smith saw references to deities from the Sumerian pantheon who lived in the heavens, watching over the fate of humanity. The writings described a group of divine beings, descendants of a god named Anu, whom that civilization revered above all. These deities, translated from cuneiform as the sons of Anu, had been named the Anunnaki, the oldest gods for which we have written records, a record of a cult devoted to divine entities. These new parts of the Epic of Gilgamesh spoke of some of the most important among them. It became clear that the most powerful deity in Sumerian mythology was Anu, the personification of the sky and bearer of infinite wisdom. A god who fell in love with Ki, the goddess of the earth. And together they had offspring, the Anunnaki. A word that in its deepest sense referred to the children of heaven and earth. The Sumerian texts did not specify how many Anunnaki existed, but they emphasized the belief that they descended from the heavens to determine the destiny of humankind. That these deities split the world in two, separating the sky from the earth so that humans could live upon it, and Father Anu could rule the heavens. The entire focus of the expedition shifted toward the cult of these deities. The Anunnaki, at least according to the written records, were the oldest gods in history, the seed of religion, in a way, sprouted with them. They had to discover everything they could about the children of heaven and earth. Weeks later, in the very library of Ashurbanipal, they discovered 7 new tablets that told the tale known as the Enuma Elish, the Babylonian creation myth. That text spoke of a god named Marduk, one of the Anunnaki described in the epic. The being who took the blood of the spirit Kingu and mixed it with clay in order to create the first humans. From that story, it could be interpreted that the Sumerians believed the Anunnaki created the model of mankind. A story that would later be echoed in the Bible. In the myth of Adam and Eve, the cornerstone of the Christian religion, In the dawn of time, there ruled in Uruk a man who was no mere man, Gilgamesh. 2/3 god and 1/3 mortal, stood as the mightiest king the winds of the desert had ever beheld. His strength was unmatched, his wisdom clouded by pride. And under his rule, the people cried out, for his tyranny pressed upon every stone he ordered raised, every maiden he claimed, every soul he bent to his will. The gods, moved by pity for humankind, wove a plan to create his equal, a wild mirror to challenge the king. And so, from the heart of the earth, Enkidu was born, hair covered, drinking beside the beasts, knowing no word, no law, no city. He was nature incarnate, but fate would not let him stay in the wilderness. Destiny pulled him toward the gates of Uruk. A sacred courtesan was sent to tame the wild man with softness and whispered truths. For 6 days and 7 nights, Enkidu was initiated into the world of humans. And when he opened his eyes to this new realm, the animals fled from him. He was no longer beast, no longer free. Led by the woman, he entered the city of Gilgamesh. And there, the inevitable collided. Aurora met Aurora. 2 titans, one of stone, the other of force, clashed at the temple gates. The earth trembled beneath their fury, but no victor emerged. Only mutual respect forged in the fire of combat. From that storm, a bond was born. Gilgamesh and Enkidu brothers in spirit sealed. An alliance that would defy the heavens. With their bond unbreakable, Gilgamesh heard a deeper calling. He proposed a quest that would shake the pillars of the world. To journey to the sacred Cedar Forest, realm of the gods, and face the monstrous guardian. Humbaba, servant of Enkidu, shaken, knew the power of that being. He knew this was no task for mortals, but Gilgamesh's will was iron. They gathered weapons forged by the finest smiths. They offered prayers to Shamash, the sun god, and called for blessings to guide them. The people wept as they departed, knowing they marched into the impossible. And so the 2 heroes, one born of sky, one born of earth, set forth into the unknown, toward the dark heart of the forest, where death waited and the gods watched.